G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Wineback Wednesday. About a week or so ago I was in dear friends Andy and Ange, Andy Coppard and Ange Townsend's Lino Ramble cellar door, and I asked Ange, I said, what have you got that's interesting and new? And she presented me with a bottle of their Gamay from this year. It's under the Earnest label, so I believe nearly every year they access a bit of fruit, a small amount, about a barrel's worth, just to make something that the variety that they really enjoy, and they put their, I suppose, stamp on it and the slant of how they perceive the variety. This Gamay is from the Adelaide Hills, I think from one of Mark Vella's vineyards, and obviously Gamay is the core variety of Beaujolais, the southern end of Burgundy in France. And it comes in different guises and intensities and what have you. There's most of the wines that come out of Beaujolais come under the Beaujolais Nouveau or Beaujolais nomenclature as such, and then in smaller volumes, then the Village range comes through as you increase in sort of quality, and then you go into the Cru, the Cru wines, and the ones sort of like from Fleury, quite perfumed and aromatic and sort of lighter in style. Then you move up sort of through some of the crus to Bruley, which is a bit more intense, and then you sort of get up to the top to the Morgon and the Moulin à Vent, are probably the most intense and powerful of the Beaujolais cru wines. Typically have lovely red fruits, luscious, lifted perfume, sort of violets and what have you. They're very attractive wines. Obviously quite different in many ways to their northern neighbour of Burgundy, where a Pinot Noir is the dominant red variety there. But they make some absolutely fantastic wines, this variety of Gamay, and it's been grown in the Adelaide Hills for, I'm trying to think, I reckon Sam Vergara was the first one who planted it many years ago. And I think then Mark Vella with this vineyard, he who runs this vineyard where this fruit is from, was not far behind. And then obviously in the last sort of 5 or 7 years, it's really has become quite popular. And it comes in different guises. The vines are sort of immature, and it is quite a heavy cropper. And I think growers and winemakers are like just finding their feet with regards to the sites that it's planted on and crop levels and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's give it a go. So this was hand-picked. It was hand-picked, 25% whole bunches on skins for about a week, 7-ish days, and then pressed off and then pressed directly to a seasoned French barrel to finish fermentation. So lovely presentation, the Earnest range. And Lino Ramble have really been I suppose pioneers in quite a number of varieties. I mean, obviously a lot of people making Gamay, but over the years they've really, in their core range, they've championed things like Arinto, Grillo, Bastardo, so a lot of those Italian and Portuguese and Spanish varieties as well. Great little cellar door. Don't make huge quantities of wine, but just really interesting, minimal intervention. They sort of pick on the earlier side to minimise sort of acid additions and sulphur additions and what have you, and really let the vineyards do the talking. Typically older oak seasoning, like a lot of us do. But without further ado, let's give this a go. So I suppose I think the Earnest, the name Earnest comes from. Obviously there's let's just say, for example, I can't remember off the top, so say 50 or so core varieties in the world that we make our wines from, and then but there are thousands and thousands of them around the world, especially some of the indigenous ones in sort of the European and Eastern European and the old Soviet states as well, those which are now countries. And I think the theory of they're being earnest and considering these other varieties and really trying to find things that they really enjoy and put their stamp on it, and just try these things and present them to the world in their guys. So let's give this a go. 2025. So it wasn't in oak very long. Obviously, it's now we're now October, and it was bottled a few weeks ago. So I assumed as a warm year, I probably picked it up in. It hasn't got a picking date on it, and there's only 864 bottles of this made. So probably a 600 litre barrel, I suspect, around that. So this is, guys. So 2025 Gamay, lovely colour, that really vibrant colour. There's no additions, there's no adjustment at all in these wines. 13.1% alcohol, so it was a warm year. So yeah, it would have been picked in sort of March, April, I suspect. March, probably about March, and then spent probably about 4.5 months in barrel. And there's lovely cherries and spice, little floral notes. It's with that sort of barrel, with the whole bunch component in there. There is a lift in there, but it's sort of bordering line on confectionery, but it's not. It's sort of just this lovely, knowing Gamay, it's this lovely perfume you get from Gamay and lift. Obviously over in Beaujolais they do a lot of whole bunches and carbonic maceration as well. Because of the variety, it really does respond well to that carbonic maceration, where you literally dose up whole bunches with carbon dioxide and it starts fermenting internally, and you get this lifted perfume notes through it. Sometimes it can go a bit more confectionery, but just with this variety, it just seems to respond very, very well to that process. So they obviously didn't do the full carbonic maceration, but being whole bunches in the ferment, you do get an element of that internal fermentation, which then adds to another dimension. But I could just smell this all day, actually. Again, you've a flow-on effect of those red fruits, really pretty, lovely acidity, really balanced, long. There's a little bit of savoury element sort of coming through in the background on the palate, but typically it's that luscious sort of cherries, and there's lovely fine tannins, and really enjoyable. Vibrant enough to be able to trunk by itself, but I'm sure it would go well with a handful of foods. You can even substitute it for a Pinot Noir, obviously, because obviously they are people who typically drink Gamays, will drink Pinots as well, and things like duck would really go well with something like this. And maybe some charcuterie, but and a bit of sort of soft cheeses as well. There's a lovely take on the variety of Gamay. Hats off to Ange and Andy with their 2025 Gamay from the Adelaide Hills and the Earnest range. So there we go. Thanks for listening. We'll speak to you soon. Cheers.